Today, we're going to talk about a question that many people have wondered about. Is the United States of America strong enough to defeat Russia alone? This question is especially relevant in light of the recent tensions between the two countries over Ukraine, where Russia has amassed thousands of troops near the border and threatened to invade if the West interferes. The United States has pledged to support Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity and has warned Russia of severe consequences if it attacks. But what if the worst happens and a war breaks out between the United States and Russia? Could the United States win such a war without the help of its allies? And what would be the costs and consequences of such a conflict? To answer this question, we need to look at several factors, such as the military capabilities, the economic resources, the political will, and the strategic objectives of both sides. We also need to consider the possible scenarios, the potential allies and enemies, and the risks and opportunities of each option. We will try to be as objective and realistic as possible, based on the available information and sources. Let's start with the military capabilities. The United States and Russia have the two largest and most powerful militaries in the world, with huge arsenals of conventional and nuclear weapons and advanced technologies and systems. According to the Global Firepower Index, which ranks the military strength of 140 countries based on various criteria, the United States ranks first, while Russia ranks second. However, this does not mean that the United States has an overwhelming advantage over Russia, as many factors affect the outcome of a war, such as geography, logistics, readiness, and morale. The United States has a clear edge over Russia in terms of naval and air power, as it has more and better aircraft carriers, submarines, destroyers, cruisers, frigates, and fighter jets. The United States also has more and better satellites, drones, missiles, and cyber capabilities which give it superior intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and strike capabilities. The United States also has more overseas bases and allies, which give it more flexibility and reach around the world. However, Russia has a clear edge over the United States in terms of land power, as it has more and better tanks, artillery, rocket launchers, and infantry fighting vehicles. Russia also has more and better air defense systems, such as the S-300, S-400, and S-500, which can shoot down enemy aircraft and missiles. Russia also has more and better nuclear weapons, such as the RS-28 Sarmat, the Avangard, and the Poseidon, which can evade or overcome enemy defenses and cause massive destruction. Russia also has the advantage of being closer to potential conflict zones, such as Ukraine, the Baltic states, and the Middle East, which gives it more speed and efficiency in deploying and supplying its forces. So, how would a war between the United States and Russia play out? There are many possible scenarios, but we will focus on two main ones: a conventional war and a nuclear war. A conventional war is a war that does not involve the use of nuclear weapons, but only conventional weapons, such as guns, bombs, and missiles. A nuclear war is a war that involves the use of nuclear weapons, which can cause enormous damage and radiation. A conventional war between the United States and Russia would be very costly and difficult for both sides, as they would have to overcome each other's defenses and counterattacks, and deal with the resistance and reactions of the local populations and the international community. The United States would have to mobilize and transport its forces across the Atlantic and the Pacific, and face the challenge of fighting in unfamiliar and hostile terrain, such as the mountains, forests, and plains of Russia. The United States would also have to contend with the possibility of Russian interference and sabotage in its communications, networks, and infrastructure, as well as the risk of escalation and miscalculation. The United States would also have to balance its commitments and resources in other regions, such as Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, where it faces other threats and challenges, such as China, Iran, and terrorism. Russia, on the other hand, would have to defend its vast and diverse territory and face the pressure and isolation of the international community, which would likely impose sanctions and condemnations on it. Russia would also have to deal with internal problems and divisions, such as the economic crisis, the political opposition, and the ethnic and religious minorities, which could undermine its stability and unity. Russia would also have to worry about the potential involvement and intervention of other countries, such as NATO, China, and India, which could either support or oppose it, depending on their interests and calculations. The outcome of a conventional war between the United States and Russia would depend on many factors, such as the objectives, strategies, tactics, and luck of both sides, as well as the reactions and responses of other actors and events. However, based on the current balance of power and capabilities, it is unlikely that either side would be able to achieve a decisive and lasting victory over the other, as they would both face significant losses and limitations and encounter strong resistance and retaliation. A more likely scenario is that the war would end in a stalemate or a compromise after a prolonged and bloody struggle, which would leave both sides exhausted and dissatisfied, and the world more unstable and insecure. A nuclear war between the United States and Russia would be even more catastrophic and devastating, as it would involve the use of nuclear weapons, which can cause enormous damage and radiation, and have long-term and global effects on the environment, the climate, the health, and the survival of humanity. A nuclear war could be triggered by various reasons, such as a deliberate attack, an accidental launch, a false alarm, or a miscalculation. A nuclear war could also escalate from a conventional war if one side feels that it is losing or threatened and decides to use nuclear weapons as a last resort or a bargaining chip. A nuclear war between the United States and Russia would be very hard to control and stop, as both sides have large and diverse nuclear arsenals and multiple ways of delivering and launching them, such as land-based missiles, submarine-based missiles, bomber aircraft. Both sides also have sophisticated command and control systems and complex doctrines and policies that govern the use and management of their nuclear weapons. Both sides also have some degree of protection and deterrence, such as missile defense systems, early warning systems, and second strike capabilities that are designed to prevent or survive a nuclear attack and to retaliate or respond to one. The outcome of a nuclear war between the United States and Russia would be disastrous and unthinkable, as it would cause millions of deaths and injuries, and massive destruction and devastation in both countries and around the world. It would also create a nuclear winter, a period of darkness and cold that would last for years, and that would affect the climate, agriculture, wildlife, and the health of the planet. It would also create a nuclear famine, a shortage of food and water that would affect billions of people and would cause more deaths and diseases. It would even create a nuclear holocaust, a collapse of civilization and society that would affect the culture, politics, economy, and the security of the world. It would also create a nuclear nightmare, a loss of hope in humanity that would affect values, morals, ethics, and the future of the world. So, is the United States of America strong enough to defeat Russia alone? The answer is that it depends. It depends on what kind of war, what kind of scenario, what kind of outcome, and what kind of cost. But the real question is it worth it? Is it worth risking a war that could end the world as we know it, for a conflict that could be avoided or resolved by other means, such as diplomacy, dialogue, cooperation, and compromise? Is it worth sacrificing the lives and the interests of millions of people for the pride and the power of a few? Is it worth destroying the world that we have for a world that we don't want? Hopefully, this video has given you some food for thought and some insight into this important and complex topic. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of new videos. And if you have anything to add or questions, drop a comment below.